Welcome to the first episode of Diving Deep with Sam Fricker. Today we have one of my good friends, Brittany O'Brien, who's an Australian diving champion, Commonwealth Games medalist, Olympic athlete with nearly 1 million followers across all her social media platforms, and has started and run multiple small businesses. So Britt, thanks for being my first guest.
I'm honoured.
Now, we've trained together for a long time, and a lot of your social media stuff is really fun and it's very engaging. But I feel like there's also another side that's super dedicated to have achieved what you've done with diving or socials. So I suppose a lot of people would want to know, because we post a lot on social media and there's rumors that you've been my girlfriend. How do we actually know each other?
So I used to go to school with Sam's older sister, Holly, and she used to do diving. And I remember she just started at my school and I was like, I feel like I should go talk to her because, I see her at the pool and stuff. So I went and kind of introduced myself and then we got really close. And then kind of after, when I was in year 12 or after high school, I would spend pretty much every day at your house. And I think I knew you a little bit, but I don't think you were quite in the institute.
I was a junior at that stage.
Yeah. So then I ended up getting close to you through your sister, I guess, and your family, your big family. So
I remember when you first went to the Olympics, because you were still in school, you were 18, first games, and we were saying goodbye. And I was a junior at that time, so I was just like, you know what? I thought that's my biggest dream. If I could do that one day, that'd be incredible. Your first Olympics, what was that experience like? Take us back to the trials as well.
It was, that year was absolutely insane. Probably one of the best and also one of the worst years of my whole life. At the trials, technically I placed second, but the girl who was beating me the whole way through, she ended up injuring herself during the competition and had to pull out. And then she put in a special consideration and she got picked because she was the silver medalist in London. So she's very good and very deserving to go. But it was definitely disappointing hearing that I didn't actually make the team. But then I ended up getting a late call up, I think 2 weeks before the competition. And I'd had some really bad preparation because I'd just gone through a lot of stuff, a couple of weeks. It was actually the day I found out that I wasn't going to the Olympics. I ended up losing someone that I was very close to, he passed away. And so it just felt like everything bad was happening all at once. And then, so to get the news finally that I was going to the Olympics, it was kind of just like this. But yeah, no, it was a big year.
I remember seeing you at training after that because you're like, oh, I got second. And I was like, oh, she's on the Olympic team. You're like, oh, well, technically no. And then I remember seeing you at training. You're like, well, it could happen. So I've got to train really hard, but there's also a chance it wouldn't. So I don't really know where my motivation's at. And that would have been a really tough time. And put the loss on top of that.
Yeah. Because obviously I went through that loss and then I had to keep training because my coach was like, look, there's a small chance you might be going. I know you're struggling a lot, but you have to keep pushing. So to rock up every day was definitely very hard. But I think it was also good because it took my mind off things and kept me, I guess, working towards a goal. I didn't just rot away in my bedroom, which I do often do. But it was fine.
And then going over to Tokyo, because I remember first seeing the news on TV, actually.
Rio.
You were talking that you're heading over, flying in. Tokyo was a little separate too because they flew everyone in separately, but the whole team had already gone. What was it like then landing a little bit late to the village, then going on to competing in the green pool?
The green pool?
Yeah.
I honestly don't really remember. I think because it was just so much all at once, I think a lot of it's just very blurred in my brain. I also have really bad memory. But I remember getting there and getting to the village and it was very overwhelming. It was my first major competition. I'd never been to a Commonwealth Games, a World Championships, nothing. So it was definitely a lot. And the village with all the other athletes and, they all kind of stare at you and it's just very,
My
different.
first Olympics was similar. I had never been to a Commonwealth or World Championships.
Yeah.
It was my first major event as well.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point, I was like, well, everyone's really good.
Yeah. I definitely felt a bit out of my, I kind of, there was a part of me that felt like I wasn't really good enough. I think maybe because I hadn't initially been selected and I was kind of a backup. So I think there was a big part of my brain that was oh, you don't actually deserve to be here. But then once I competed and I got through the prelims and I almost made the finals, I didn't quite make the finals, but I mean, to come top whatever it was, 15. Definitely like boosted my confidence a little bit. So.
Especially at the Olympics, like the pinnacle of sport. And when you say you feel like you didn't qualify, I know it was an interesting event, but you finished in the second position, which is what it takes to qualify through. It just can be some technical stuff that comes up every now and then.
Yeah.
And then from your social media, because you didn't have a lot of socials back then, eh? It was something that came a few years later.
Yeah. I mean, I started doing TikTok in like 2020. It was around the time of the bushfires. Do you remember that video?
I remember because we were both studying at a similar time and somewhat like competing with each other, and you were the first to hit a
we had a
video
competition who could get more views and likes.
Yeah, we're both like making content around pool, but our content is very
terrible
different.
content.
But you were the first to get a million, and then you were known for the Wack and Fogies girl for a long time.
So embarrassing. Yeah, I did like a video about the bushfires, and I like breathed smoke through. A lot of people didn't realize it was me. Like they started seeing my dabbing content, and then later they realized, and they were like, "Oh, I remember that video." But yeah, it still haunts me to this day.
That was a great video though.
It wasn't.
That did like millions, and yeah, it was on the fires, which were really bad at the time. I remember they even closed the pool one day.
Yeah,
it was nuts. Smoke was too rough. And then with the socials, what's your motivation to make videos?
I've just kind of always loved it. Like even before social media, I used to make videos. I mean, when I was like 10 years old, I'd make videos in my backyard, like on the trampoline, and like pretend to do little vlogs, and they obviously wouldn't go anywhere. But it was
Did you post them?
No, there was no way to really post it on. Like we had Instagram, but I don't know, people were using Instagram very differently back then. But yeah, I've always loved it. And then once TikTok came about, I just started posting for fun and didn't actually expect anything from it. And then the last few years it's just become more of a, I guess, job, but I still treat it as a hobby. I mean, I don't even view it as a job. So that's good, I guess.
Because with your content as well, it's very like light, very true, very honest, and as someone who knows you well, I feel like it's a good reflection of who you are as well. How do you find when you create it? Do you just try to be as natural as possible? How do you keep it really raw and organic?
I mean, I've tried to just keep it very authentic. I think at first I would post sort of like the bad and the good of diving, and I feel like that was something that not too many people were doing at the time. And I know a few people were a bit like, oh, like, how can you post that? Like, surely, you wouldn't want to be putting your bad dives out there.
So with the competitors, I feel like it's such a taboo thing to post you doing anything that's not absolutely professional.
Exactly. Yeah. But I just sort of didn't really care, to be honest. Like, I don't really care how I'm viewed in that way. Like, as long as I'm performing when I need to perform, like, that's proof enough that I guess I can do what I need to do. And maybe it kind of like lowers the expectations of my competitors. But yeah, no, I don't enjoy seeing all the kind of curated fake. Like I see a lot of athletes even still now just posting like only about their, I guess, highs rather than like, I don't know, it kind of cringes me out a little bit to see that. So I just try not to do that and keep it. And I think it does help a lot of younger athletes coming up. Like I've had a few people tell me that, it's inspired them to start diving and like they feel a lot better seeing that I'm not perfect. Like, I don't know. I
feel like that touches on a bigger topic of like perfectionism.
Yeah.
Whether it's like filming a video or diving, if you have like analysis paralysis and think of all the things that could go wrong and then you never even get started.
Yeah.
I feel like allowing yourself to make mistakes in training and even share that on social media, it's what you need to even do to perform at a high level. Like I know when I'm at training and I'm struggling with the dive, I just need to accept that I just got to slog a few out. They're just going to be rubbish, even if it's for a few weeks. And then that's how you get through it.
Yeah.
But I think it's been really good to see that other side of diving as well, because it's such a true side. Like it's only around competition where I know for myself that I'm really on my head nailing dives. And outside of that, I'm typically missing because the dives that we do are to nearly the capacity of what you're capable of. And you need to be kind of peaking to be able to do them really well.
Yeah.
And if you're nailing your dives all the time, they're probably a little bit too easy. And then starting your business, I know you've had Draco, which was a jewelry company. Tell us about that and then what's coming with your new exciting one.
So Draco Jewelry, I started it in lockdown just because I was a bit bored and I just ordered a whole bunch of stock and started making jewelry in my bedroom and kind of just did it as a bit of a side hobby. And then I was going to start taking it seriously, but I wanted to make it better and I got a bit sick of the jewelry. So now at the moment I'm kind of working on some clothes. It's a very slow process, but I'm hoping it'll be ready next year, like early next year. But yeah, no, that I'm going to put a lot more effort into that than I put into the jewelry. I feel like that was kind of a good practice run, just learning like the basics of a business. And then I've got my friend Jake involved and he's going to do the actual business side of it because I don't really know anything about that. But yeah, no, it's been fun but slow.
Can we share the name of it yet, or is it still under
Yeah.
wraps?
So it's called April and Mayhem, and it's like that's my sister's birth month, April, and then I'm born in May, and then I just added Mayhem. My mum came up with it actually, but yeah, it's gonna be like sort of casual clothes, like little dinner dresses and stuff, and then I'll have a few plain t-shirts, like unisex t-shirts, and I don't know, maybe I'll have a men's range in the future, but yeah, I'm starting basic and then I'll build it up.
And April and Mayhem, that's referring to the like kind of chill side, then a more interesting side as well. And I saw you can do flip clothes, which like completely doubles like your outfit options, which I haven't seen before at all, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to be focusing on sort of versatility so you can mix and match all the pieces and yeah, like I guess expand your wardrobe without actually expanding your wardrobe and yeah, just something a bit different because I feel like there's a lot of brands out there that are very much the same kind of stuff and I wanted to make it like higher quality as well. So yeah, I'm still working on the samples and everything, but yeah, it's been fun.
When learning all that stuff, because I found when I started Sam's Straws or any venture, whether it's even the podcast, like you're diving into a deep end where you just feel like you don't know anything or like how to do anything. It's like, oh, I got to set up a company. Like, how do I do that? I use like YouTube to work my way around a lot of those things. What have you find the most useful to get over all those hurdles along the way?
I struggle a lot. I struggle to get started on things. I'll just procrastinate. And if I feel like I don't 100% know how to do something, I just like won't do it. So it's honestly just a matter of just doing it, even if it feels wrong. Like with the samples, I had no idea how to design it or how to like send it off to the manufacturer. I just guessed. And even with fabrics, like I did my research, but I kind of just guessed and like I was like, I'll just see what they kind of come out with.
That's all you can do, right?
Yeah. And then once I actually like start receiving the samples, then I'll kind of be able to visually see what's going on. I think I'm a lot more of a visual kind of learner. YouTube, I've watched a lot of YouTube and again, I'm lucky I have my friend Jake because he runs multiple restaurants. So he knows a lot about the business stuff. So that's good. But yeah, you literally just have to have a crack. So
Jake's a legend. He's a funny guy. I feel like if anything, he'd be a stress relief on the job as well.
Yes.
Like, making you laugh
and he
every
pushes
night.
me to do it. He's like, you need to like actually start. I'm like, oh yeah, I should. Yeah.
I think it's because he's running all his own stuff. I feel like that experience would be super helpful.
Yeah. And he kind of holds me a bit more accountable because I don't hold myself accountable. So
I feel like the accountability is so important for everyone. Like during COVID, and we didn't have our coaches there to make us train. I found that really difficult.
Yeah.
Like I'm someone who's really self-motivated, but accountability I think is still really important. Like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, should I go to training? It's like, it's not sure. It's like, yeah, you don't have a choice. Like you have to, they're there, they're waiting. Like you're going to get in trouble if you don't. I feel like that accountability everywhere is really helpful, whether it's like business or socials. We've got our man, Eddie, keeping us accountable.
Legend.
And then back to the diving, because something else you've done in your diving career that not many people do is you went from platform down to springboard. Tell us about that journey.
So I've done 10 meter.
Just so everyone knows, Brittany went to the Olympics for the 10-meter platform and then went to the Commonwealth Games and won a medal on springboard. So that's two huge achievements in nearly completely different fields. Just a bit of context.
I used to do platform and I always saw myself as a platform diver. I never even really thought that I'd be capable of doing springboard. I think I just always thought that was my specialty. But in lockdowns, obviously we didn't train for a while and I'd always had a few problems with mental blocks where I'd kind of overthink my dives and then I'd like stand up there and not be able to actually do the dive. And I thought I was over it. And then after the lockdown, I got back up on 10 meter after a few months off and I just like froze. It's almost like, you know how they say like the yips in golf when you just like can't hit the ball.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even scared. Like I thought if I go and I land on my face, like I don't care. I just want to do the dive. But it was just something kind of blocking me. And I tried a lot of different things. I tried, meditating. I went to hypnotherapy, which actually helped a little bit, but not enough. And this was all leading up to the 2020 Olympic trials as well, or 2021. And I ended up having to withdraw from the trials because I just didn't have all my dives. Like I hadn't done them in, however long. And then I was actually just going to quit after that. I thought like, that's me done. But my coach sort of told me, I think you'd be like okay on springboard, maybe give it a crack. And at first I was like, no, like there's no way. But then I started and I actually loved it. I loved training. It was a lot less stressful. I wasn't standing up there scared for my life. It was a lot more chill and a lot easier on the body as well, which I like. And I'm able to do more kind of repetitions without getting sore. And I feel more prepared when I'm competing and stuff. But the first springboard competition I did was woeful. Like I think it was probably.
And I find that interesting because you've made this huge change from the 10-meter platform down to the 3-meter springboard. You've been training for months. Then you get to your first event and that confidence takes a hit.
Yeah.
How'd you get through that?
I was just so nervous because in springboard you have to do like a hurdle takeoff, which is a lot different to platform. And I think I was just so in my head. I'm like, oh, what if I stuff up the hurdle? And I did stuff up the hurdle because that's all I was thinking about. And my confidence took a hit and I had some people afterwards be like, oh, maybe you should go back to platform. Like, I don't know what you're doing on springboard. And I think
so all those naysayers have that moment of like, we kind of told you like, see, and that's tough.
Yeah, it was hard. And then we had the state champs a week later. And I remember the night before I was just bawling my eyes out in bed. Like, I can't do it. And then I got there and it was fine. Like the stage, it wasn't anything special, but it was better than the week before.
Yep.
And then I think the next comp I had was nationals. And I think because I'd done a lot more training.
Commonwealth trials?
Yes.
Okay.
Melbourne.
Yep.
Commonwealth Games trials and Worlds trials all in one. And I didn't really expect much because I was up against some of the best springboard divers in the world, like Maddie Keeney, Annabelle Smith, Georgia, so many amazing.
2 Olympic medalists.
Yeah.
In there.
And my coach had always said like, no, I think you'll be fine. Like, you could make the team. And I'm like,
I love Chava.
Yeah. I'm like, there's no way. Yeah. And then I ended up winning somehow. I don't know how. I just managed to put together like 3 rounds of consistent dives. And it was definitely like a very amazing feeling because it was just something I didn't even think I was capable of, and definitely boosted my confidence a little bit. But that was.
Would you say that's one of your best diving memories?
Obviously I have the Commonwealth medal now, but I think that one was more special because it was just so much more unexpected, I guess, and just like I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, it can be tough to put in the words.
Yeah.
But I remember watching you at that event and just thinking like, oh, she looks really solid, comfortable. And when you won, I was like surprised. I was also kind of like, oh yeah, like I'm also kind of not surprised because the diving was solid. Like it was just solid, didn't miss, on your head, consistent. And I thought that was incredible. That's always a very stressful week, those trials, and it's Australian Championships. And just so you know, like when you go to one of these trials, it's like you either perform and then you're traveling around the world for basically a year competing on all the international stage, or you're done for the season. And it's really like you're going to go through and compete or you're kind of done. And they are really stressful. But that would have been such an incredible moment after having that loss, making the change, everyone being like, oh, maybe you should just go back to platform. Like, what are you doing? And then just coming back and winning, beating everyone.
Yeah. Even that week, like leading up to it, I heard people kind of talking not so great things about me and my springboard. But it was kind of nice to prove everyone and myself wrong. So, yeah. Now,
being a female athlete and posting a lot on social media, how have you dealt with some of the negative backlash? Because I know there's a ton of positive stuff and you got a great team around you, which helps support you. But when you've dealt with that negative stuff, what do you do and what's that like?
I've been pretty lucky. Like I don't get much hate. I mean, I do a little bit, but I think compared to a lot of other people, I've gotten it pretty good. I definitely get a lot of comments about my body, I think, because I'm in a swimsuit a lot for my sport. A lot of, I guess, judgment there. But I think now I'm very used to it and I kind of just delete or like block, which kind of sucks that you've just had to like learn to get used to it. Like it shouldn't be a thing in the first place. But I mean, no matter what you're doing, if you're on social media, like you're gonna cop people saying
Also
stuff
about everything. They'll even like get creative.
Yeah,
Like some stuff I've
seen
heard about myself. I'm like, what?
or like stuff I didn't even like, I wasn't insecure about before. Like if you, I don't know, people comment on my boobs, I'm like, yeah, that's valid. But then like comments on like my teeth, I'm like, oh, I thought my teeth were
When
okay.
you come to training, you're like, oh yeah, I had like a new insecurity unlocked.
Yeah. Yeah, they're very creative. Some of the, yeah. But I definitely have a very long blocked list. And it's mostly just creepy comments, to be honest. Like people will just say things to you that they would not dream of saying in real life.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them are always like married with kids as well. But yeah, you just kind of get used to it. And it's sort of sickening to see how many like disgusting people there are out there. But there's also like a lot of good and mostly good. So I try to just focus on that as opposed to the other stuff. I know in the past I've let it get to me a lot and I've made a few videos about it that got like a bit of traction. But yeah, now I just kind of ignore it. And
You know what I actually don't mind though? Like a really funny, witted, like
yeah,
mild attack. I don't mind on me. Like sometimes I read something, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny.
Sam gets a lot of hate.
Yeah, can I say like I don't know what I've done, but like, I cop a fair bit, and most of it I find hilarious. Like sometimes I read some, and I'm like, oh, I actually find that kind of funny. But because I never read my comments, really, it's normally like Xanthi or you or someone comes to me like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "Nah." All right, give me a look. It's hilarious. Even about like my diving or like my gym technique, I'm like,
Oh, your gym technique's questionable. I will say that.
No. I used to always get in trouble for like doing things fast, but it's just my way of doing things. Like even when I train, I'll come in and I'll just do my stuff. I'll do it fast. I do it efficient. I'll do it as correct as possible.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah, as correct as I know. But that's funny. We got like these professional coaches, these specialized gym coaches, and
people in the comments.
Stephen reckons he knows more.
I had someone the other day comment and say, "I think if you did more core workouts, you'd be a better diver." I'm like, "Thank you." That's what I'm trying to do.
I'm not saying I know more than Stephen, but Spenny certainly does. Like he's an expert in the field.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of it kind of funny, especially like when you're diving. Like I feel like that's the real challenge. Like when you're like up on 10 meter at a competition, people are trying to mess with you, throw you off. You're already nervous about the dive and the comp, and you push your way through that. I feel like that's where I've built a lot of my resilience for the social stuff because it's nothing compared to that. Have you found like your diving's been really useful for dealing with social media and your business?
Yeah, and I think also in the way that like it doesn't even feel like it doesn't feel like hard work or anything to me. I mean, I know social media like in the grand scheme of things isn't like a hard job compared to most or a lot, but it's just something that feels very easy. And like I think because we're so used to grinding so hard with the diving and you know getting up every day and like having such a tough schedule, it just it feels quite easy in comparison and fun, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely like helped in a lot of ways.
When it comes to yourself, because I know you share a lot on social media, but what's something a lot of people wouldn't know about you?
Oh,
about the old Brittany O'Brien.
Probably a lot of things I don't share on the internet. I mean, I think as a person, I'm probably people are often surprised that I'm a lot more like quiet and.
Yeah, Xanthi says the same about me.
Oh, really?
I feel like everyone thinks I'm like really loud and out there, but.
I mean, I think both of you and I are like around our friends, but people we don't know, like I'm quite a anxious person. Like if I don't know you, I'll probably not talk to you, and it's not because I'm rude. I'm just really shy. And I think because people will watch my videos and I kind of yap on a lot and like just don't shut up. So everyone's like, oh, she doesn't really talk much. But yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Because when you're on socials, I find like when you're doing a voiceover, like you're excited, you're conveying the point, you're sharing the story, especially that I am, and then people meet you and they're like, oh yeah, they're pretty mellow.
Yeah.
See, I could not keep that energy up all the time because like when I'm doing my voiceovers, it's like I'm doing my voiceover, I want to share the story, but most of the time it's like it's fairly mellow.
Yeah. And I'm also always really embarrassed to like film in public or take photos in public, but I'll like happily post it on the internet for however many people to see. Yeah.
The filming. Brittany, instead of bringing a tripod to training, she just like sets up a whole structure that's like more low key. Like
I'll get like 2 chairs and stack them up. I'm like, oh, it's too embarrassing to have a tripod.
Yeah, I'm like, do you want to use my tripod? Nah, it's too light out there. Stacks up like 3 chairs and
Don't want
builds
to cause a scene.
Yeah. I don't want to know I'm videoing. Yeah, the training content's such a enjoyable thing. And as you were saying before, like when training's been really hard and your motivation's down, like just going in to make some videos, you get your training done and you can get a video of it. You get like an extra sense of achievement, even when training wasn't that great.
Yeah. And I think at first people were a bit like, oh my God, like why are they filming at training? Like what are they doing? But I think now people are a lot more used to it. And like I think more people are doing it as well. So I think it's kind of...
Certainly more people are doing it. But that was such a taboo thing when we started. Like when I first brought my tripod, it was like, I just like, it was like I was like the center of attention for the next month. Like everyone was just staring at me.
It's like you murdered somebody.
When I came in, I was like, it's like a singular stick hold to my phone. I like leave it low key on the side to film my dives. And it was like a really big thing. But I feel like everyone's been so much more accepting and cool about that because from what I've seen, no divers or especially no one in the institute has been able to film, document, get access and share training because it's a sacred space where us leaving the phone on the side doesn't affect training because we're leaving it there at the start. We pick it up at the end. You do your thing in between. But it was such a big thing around the pool.
As long as it's not interfering, I don't see. And I think also people are now more understanding that it's kind of like our job now and it's sort of how we make a living. So yeah, I think people are a lot more like encouraging now. But at first it was definitely weird and I still get really embarrassed every time I set up my camera. So
yeah, because I don't really care too much. And when everyone was kind of looking at me, I was like, oh, but I think that over time people have been a lot more like just not really caring.
You've definitely helped me a lot with my confidence. Like you just kind of don't give a crap and you just like do what you want and like you don't really care what people say and it definitely helps me a lot. Yeah. So yeah, it's been good to train and be on this like social media journey with you.
I always find that super good to have you as well because on socials, especially for diving, like we've nearly not shared so much of this stuff and then to both be on a similar journey at the same time, doing it all together. It's so easy coming to training and if something comes up to be able to talk about it, whether it's like brand deals or trials or content around trials, Olympics. Like I feel like that's such a unique thing that we can share throughout the career. And that's why I've loved to have you on the first episode.
I'm honored. Yes.
So then when it comes to major events, because I initially really struggled with like big events and long competitions. And what I found really helpful for me was sticking to a routine, whether it's like my warm up, what I do in the pool, not super rigid because everything changes as you go, as you know, around comp, like nothing really goes to plan. But what have you found help those comp nerves on the day?
I think I go about it a lot differently to like most of my, I guess, competitors. Like I try to keep it very chill. Like a lot of people have their headphones on and they'll be like in the corner, like looking at the wall.
Do I feel like the headphones in the corner, like staring at the wall? Surely that's like building the anxiety
out. That's what
out.
I thought. Like it's just
I like if it's chill.
Yeah. Like I'll even sit and kind of watch my competitors and everyone's like, how can you watch and like keep track of the scores? I'm like,
Bro, I want to know how I'm going. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want to be in the dark coming last. Like, I want to, if I'm coming last, I want to be at least fighting. Like, know what I got to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. And I usually sit next to my coach and like force him to tell me jokes and like just keep me laughing. And I try to treat it like training as well. I mean, if I'm training well, like I don't want to treat it like training if I'm not training very well. But yeah, you don't want to change anything, obviously. And I just like when I'm actually standing up on the board, I just think, oh, just like training, like it's easy. That's one of the things I always think is just easy, easy, easy. And I don't even really think about the dive because it's second nature at this point. So yeah, that helps a lot. And it's also something that's taken me years to sort of establish, like a lot of trial and error. Especially, you know, being new to springboard, I've sort of had to change my routine a little bit there.
Has that mental change been different? Because I know when I compete platform, it's different anxiety, like different concerns.
Yeah. I think so. I like, yeah, it's definitely a lot different, but I think I've probably like matured a lot in like the last few years since I've been doing springboard, and I guess just more of an established routine. I think on platform I was always a bit kind of all over the place and didn't really know, like didn't really have much of a, like I didn't know what worked. But now I feel like I do. And yeah, that's just something that's taken, I guess, years to develop.
Yeah. Something I've been thinking about too recently is like, I know it's what the coaches say, but sheer consistency in training goes a long way.
Yeah.
Like when you've been nailing it in training and you go up there and you nail it in comps, like, yeah, it's those days where you haven't been nailing it in training and you're like, oh, hopefully I can pull it out when I need to, you know?
That was my issue on platform. Like I always had like injuries, and just, I was also a bit lazy when I did 10 meter because I think I was just not lazy, but I was scared, and I would always kind of find excuses to get out of it. And then I'd get to competition and be like, oh, I have not done enough training for this. So I think that's, yeah, definitely changed a lot. Like just being consistent in springboard and getting the numbers up. And if you've done it a million times in training, you know how to do it in competition. So
and it's just like managing the nerves. Like,
yeah,
easy.
Exactly.
I can do it. That like positive self-talk.
It's definitely hard when you're like nervous and you're kind of like shaking.
Constant battle, eh?
Oh, it's so hard.
Very rarely I walk into a comp like, I got this.
And if you do, then there's probably something wrong. Like
yeah. But when I feel like I'm performing, I always do better when I feel like I'm diving defensive.
Yeah.
Like defensive diving.
Yeah, I used to just compete to like get through the list. Whereas now I'm like, okay,
dive to survive.
Let's actually try and get some good scores.
But springboard training is different too. Like you can go up to springboard and train your list once, twice, 3 times a week, where a lot of platform divers, you can't do that. Or it takes months to work up to where your body is physically capable to handle that training without getting injured.
Yeah.
Where springboard, I could probably take a holiday and flop a few times and still be right. In terms of like an injury perspective, but they're both really difficult in different ways. Like they say platform is harder to train, easier to compete.
Yeah, agree.
And then springboard, easier to train, harder to compete, because then you get to comp and you throw in this hurdle, which is such a technical movement that you need to nail.
I swear I jump like 5 times lower in competition than in training because I'm just so nervous and I can't like control the jelly legs.
That first step, you like kind of calm it down. And then when you're in the position, I feel like that extra comp nerves makes up for it.
Yeah,
it's like balance itself out.
Sometimes I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what leg I start on. Like I've like done it 500,000 times, but I like don't know if it's my right leg that I step with.
I feel like most of the comp stuff is just like,
oh my God, I keep licking it.
Trying to stay like, most of the comp stuff is just like trying to stay cool, calm, and just relax, because there's a million ways to get it wrong, and it's kind of like one way to get it right.
Yeah, it's so particular as well with diving. Like the angle that you take off the board is basically like determines how you're going to land in the water. Like it's so precise, which is hard. And that's the same on springboard and platform.
Yeah, like that trajectory, because it even makes a difference of how well you know where you are in the air. Like the palabra, I can't say that word.
What what do
they call it?
The palabra.
What do they call that, Tim?
Parabola.
The parabola that you take off on actually affects your aerial awareness. So if you get like a good one, you're like, we're bang. Where if you get a bad one, it's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, makes a difference.
Yeah.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor.
My name is Brittany O'Brien, and I'm currently in the process of starting a clothing business. This is the first time I've talked about it on anywhere, so you're the first to know about it. And if you want to be the first to follow it, you can find it at April and Mayhem on Instagram and TikTok, or you can just follow my personal socials at Brittany O'Brien on also Instagram and TikTok.
Has there been anyone in particular that's inspired you, that you've looked up to, or a certain trait that you've tried to implement yourself, diving elsewhere?
I mean, I didn't really watch diving before I actually got into it. So I didn't really know too much about the athletes or anything. But when I first started and I was training with like Melissa Wu, Matthew Mitchum, Alex Croak.
That would have been a cool time in the pool.
Yeah. And it was kind of different because I trialed out for the institute and I initially didn't get in because I wasn't good enough. So I was kind of put into this little like random squad, and then I'd see them at training, but I don't know. They just, once I started like understanding who they were and like they were very good, like Melissa Wu particularly, I always looked up to her. And she's been through like a lot as well. And she's just always kind of gets on with it. And that inspires me a lot. And yeah, also, I mean, in more recent times, now that I'm doing springboard, I very much look up to like Madison Keeney, and now, you know, her and I are really close friends as well, but I still very much use her as inspiration because she's just such an amazing diver.
Yeah.
So,
Maddie is someone else who I see is just like having the crack. Like she competes some of the hardest dives women have ever done in the sport.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
She just has a crack, and I love that.
Yeah, and I've been like wanting to do that kind of thing. Like I really want to try some of the harder dives.
And you've sent some of them before, like your front 4.5, you reverse 3.5.
Yeah.
Possibly in with 3.5.
It's coming, maybe. Yeah, she's someone that she's always said, like, you know, obviously the Chinese are generally the best in diving in the world. And she says, like, the only way to beat them is to have harder dives than them. And, you know, because technically they're always, I mean, pretty much always perfect. So that's just like kind of the only way, I guess, she sees. And that's, something that I want to kind of, in years to come, I don't know how long I'm going to be going for, but, you know, I'll try and have a crack.
Yeah, Mel is someone who I've been actually inspired by as well. Like Melissa Wu, 2-time Olympic medalist. But what I love is her story about it wasn't just natural talent. Like she worked really hard.
Yeah.
She had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And I heard one of her talks when she sat us all down in Melbourne and gave a presentation. And I trained with her every day for years, similar to you. And a lot of this stuff I didn't know either because she's just at training, head down, working hard. And when she explains these mental barriers that she had to overcome, I was really impressed by that because I've had to overcome mental barriers myself where you either don't believe in yourself, you don't think you can, you don't think you're good enough, you don't think you can do that dive that's just like you've tried it 100 times and just failed, like just not worked, wiped out. And when I hear her talk about how she went through her own mental battles and found the way to get around it, and like always her just finding a way, like no matter what, whether it's been outside diving, she's always found a way.
Yeah.
Like, I've always found that really, like someone's been through like a hard time and just keeps finding a way.
Yeah.
I find that really commendable.
Me too. Even in, as you said, outside of diving, like I asked her for some business advice because she's had her clothing business and now obviously her gym, and she's literally just said, you just have to do it. Like, just figure it out and do it, basically. I'm like, oh, okay, easy as that, I guess. Yeah, very inspiring.
Mel.
Yeah.
Good old Mitchum's won the SAS.
Mitchum. Did he win?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, him and some other guy ended up coming all the way through.
He used to scare me, but I love him.
Mitchum. I saw this funny clip of him like that the staff was like, why do you sing?
Yeah.
And he was like, do you think we sing on the battlefield? So, maybe. And it's
So
like,
him.
sing for me. He's like, raindrop. He sings. But I feel like that like mindset of keeping everything in the hardest time still lighthearted.
And he's also someone that's been so authentic, like in every way. Like he'll just always be like 1,000% himself. And I think I've looked up to him a lot in that way as well. So, yeah.
And his technique, I remember watching him dive,
amazing.
like just do a back 2.5 on 5. And I thought if I could ever do a dive similar to that, I'd be happy. Like it just looked.
He makes it look so easy.
Yeah,
some of the stories as well that he
perfect technique.
Like he'll rock up to competition and just like be so all over the place. And like, I think there's stories of him like not even realizing his event was on, and he rocks up and he's like, oh, it's now, and like doesn't do a warm up and
then
just
wins.
Yeah. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm similar to him in that way, but not quite to that extent.
He's a legend. He commentated my event when I won a medal at Commies with Shishing.
Yeah.
And it was nice. I got a really nice photo with him after with the medal. And he trained with us when we were younger, but he retired before I became like one of the older guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm the older guy. I think I'm one of the oldest now, which is kind of scary.
It's weird transitioning like that. Hey?
I know. Like
and it went like that.
I'm only 21, but at end Swiss, I'd be the oldest.
Diving's very young sport. Like I'm 25 and that's getting there.
And when I was young too, I never thought like you somewhat don't believe you'll grow up.
Yeah.
Like you just like, oh yeah, but that's just Decker's like, that's Mitchum. He's older. Like, and then he gets to that age, he's like, oh yeah, okay, that's me now. I gotta figure that out.
Yeah. And I think also because you're sort of like a bit of a role model for the younger kids and you have to sort of keep that in mind when you're at training as well.
Yeah. That's also important because like, just like anyone, I get frustrated at training sometimes and like I'm not perfect and training is a struggle and that's part of the journey. Like when you come into comp, you normally make a lot of mistakes, but you can't get too frustrated because you do have a lot of those kids around that might look up to you or look to you to see how the program runs. And you've got to try your best to just, even in the hardest days, just not get too upset.
Yeah.
Keyword try.
Keep it professional, not say appalling things on pool deck in front of kids, which I do sometimes.
I love Howell's always good at like when I'm frustrated with my dives, like keeping me super chill. Tomo used to be really good at that.
Yeah.
He used to like pull me over and make me laugh. And that would like switch me back into professional mode.
Yeah.
Being in diving for so long.
Okay.
Sorry, let me rephrase. Being an experienced diver, has there been any traits that you've seen the people that are successful have?
Ooh.
Like those divers that make it, whatever that is, making Olympics, winning a medal, becoming Australian champion. Is there anything about those divers that stands out to you that makes them different, or the ones that go that mile, the ones that get over the line?
I think I see a lot of people, I used to be the same, make a lot of excuses and blame like external factors for their performance or, you know.
I had this joke with Curse the other day. It's like, I didn't dive well today, but the air was off.
Yeah.
Something smelled different in here today.
Yeah. I mean, people are like that. I mean, I used to be like that. And yeah,
we all fall into it. I feel like when I'm having a bad day, I try to think of any reason as to why it could be except for my performance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think not taking, I guess, accountability. And I see a lot of that in like the younger athletes, I think. Not naming names. But yeah, I think one thing I've noticed is people who just, you know, they don't have excuses and they don't like blame, you know, oh, I dived bad because I did this and I didn't work hard enough. I think that's, you know, kind of one of the traits of someone who's going to be successful as opposed to someone who's just sort of blaming everything else. Or like blaming the coach. A lot of people blame the coach.
Bro, can I say, a lot of the older guys, like on the Australian team, never seen it. Not in the Australian team. People, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like it's normally if I make a mistake, I apologize to my coach. Like I'm sorry, Howell.
Yeah.
So you should have kicked harder. I know. You were right. I'm so like, I would never turn around and blame them. But
yeah, I think that's just something you learn as well. But yeah, that's definitely one thing.
Like sheer accountability.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the only answer.
And like the ability to want to, I mean, you have to know how to sort of take criticism in sport, and a lot of people don't know how to take it well. So I think that's one thing that you definitely have to get used to, is taking criticism and listening to the feedback of, you know, people who I guess probably know a bit more than you, or understanding that people actually do know more than you. Like your coach, for example. That's
a great one. I find that skill actually really useful for all areas of life. Like just being able to be coached. Like diving, I come in and say if I'm like running my business, I'm like, okay, we need this, always open ideas, but ideally this is how it's got to run. I come to the pool, it's like I'm open-minded, I'm doing what I'm told. Like I'm here to be coached and I'll do what they tell me.
You're very good like that as well.
Oh, thank you. You keep your head down and you just do it.
Yeah.
And I think that is important, and to be humble enough to know that if you knew how to do it better yourself, you'd be doing it. And just to listen, do what the coaches say, do all the numbers they say. Well, it's like, make sure you do all your basics, Sam.
Howell loves his basics.
Howell loves his basics. Yeah, I used to hate them, but
I hate them.
As they make my diving better, I like them better. But yeah, that ability to be corrected and be criticized, because I've even been in a meeting and people are like, oh, were you not offended by that? I'm like, nah, man, like it's probably true.
Yeah.
and that's the way I look at hate as well. Like when people hate on me on social media.
He sucks at diving. Oh, it's probably true.
No. I look at it in the sense of like, if someone hates on me on social media, I don't know them. They got nothing to do with me. they're probably not an expert, so I don't care. But if my coach comes and tells me how to diet better, I listen. If you come and said, oh, Sam, you probably shouldn't do this or that on socials, I'd listen. Like, I value the people's opinions. Oh, I do.
Except for wearing the suits to the events. He doesn't listen to that.
If I value a good idea, I wear suits to all my events.
And I hate it.
Shout out to politics for getting me the suits. I love them. I wear them everywhere. And Britt's like, you can't wear it to Ocean Alley. I'm like,
yeah, he wore a suit to a concert.
I wear them everywhere. They're nice. I got off topic, but yeah, I think I listen to the people's opinions around me, and you have to take that criticism on board.
Yeah.
But not the haters.
Yeah. And also just trusting the process as well. That's one thing I've learned, to trust my coach, because he'll always tell me, trust me, like it's going to work out. Like if you just do everything I say, you'll be fine. And so now I just try and do everything that he says, and then usually it's fine. So yeah.
It's so like that too, because diving, you could come in and you're doing your basics. They're great. You're doing your build-ups. They're great. And you go up to 10, they're a bit of a struggle for a little bit. And you're like, I don't know if it's all going to come together. But your coach is like, it's just part of the plan. Stick to it. Get through this. And when you're in the midst of it, because you've got weeks of this difficulty, you don't know. Like it's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
But then when it comes together, you're like, yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And I always try to trust the universe as well.
Yeah, I'm big on that.
Yeah. Like if I'm going through some bad stuff, I'm just like, oh, well, that means that something good's coming. So that's just
sometimes when like I just get like a challenge after a challenge after a challenge, I just think to myself like as if the universe or is saying like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like how bad do you want it?
And like I look
like,
back.
Do you really want it? You'll get through it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like in the past stuff I thought I would not ever get through, and then come out the other side and I like realized, oh, that kind of did have to happen for me to like learn this and be able to do this. And yeah, it's all kind of, I guess, flows into each other. So.
Even like the person you have to become to achieve those things or overcome the problems, like that is a gift in itself. Like they say, like it's not making the million, it's the person you have to become to make the million, which is invaluable. And I feel like when it comes to any challenges, it's like the person you have to become to consistently overcome these challenges is worth the pursuit of figuring it out.
Yeah. I've even heard like people talk about once they've like achieved what they want to achieve and they're like kind of hit with what was that all for? Like it's a bit of a disappointment, and then they realize that the actual whole process was like the journey as opposed to the result. And so it's all about growing and learning, I guess.
I've never experienced that so far, where I've achieved something and just felt like it wasn't it. I don't know. Have you? I haven't experienced that yet.
I think Commonwealth Games, I mean, I guess it's not like, see, even now I'm like, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. But I guess like a silver medal at Com Games is like pretty good.
I feel like everything though, it seems impossible. Then when you do it, it's like, oh yeah, but you've either don't give enough credit for how much of an achievement that really is.
But I mean, I remember standing up there and I was kind of just, I think this is just a me problem, but I was like standing on the podium. I'm like, oh, like, did I just do all that work for like this? Like, it's just like a random little piece of like metal on like a string. Like, look at my little trophy. Like, I'm like, oh, is it just for like the validation of people? Like, I don't know. I just kind of questioned my whole existence after that. And I was obviously like happy and proud, but it was definitely like weird. Again, I've never won an Olympic medal and maybe that would be different. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, and I even had people be like, oh, you don't seem that excited.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I am, but no, I don't know. It was just weird.
I looked at my Commonwealth medal differently. Like
Really?
when I won my medal with shishing, I was so happy because for myself, it was personal success because I'd set out a plan and a goal earlier that year. Like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And I saw that whole plan unfold to what I wanted. And that was why I found it successful. And I think it is somewhat of an exterior motivation having a physical medal, but it's an interior motivation to want to fulfill your personal goals and challenges. And I think maybe that's why I was really proud and happy with that moment. And it was a step down from yours. I got bronze. You got silver.
I think it's a pretty normal thing to be like happy with a medal.
Yeah.
I think I just have problems, but
No. Well, did you plan to win a medal? Like, did you have a goal? I know you want to do well, but did you think you could? Did you plan on like Did it catch you off guard?
It caught me off guard.
Okay.
I think I knew I had potential because I was always quite good on 1 meter, and I had a bit of a harder dive list to some of my other competitors. But that was my first ever international 1 meter competition. So I didn't have the highest.
Was it your first?
Yeah. And I did pretty poorly in the prelims as well. I think I only just really scraped into the final. So
That's all you got to do though.
Yeah. And I kind of was happy about that because I was like, oh, I'm saving it all for the final. But yeah, I didn't expect it. But I just remember looking on the scoreboard and being like, oh, what? And I more so expected it in the 3 meter, and then the 3 meter didn't really go to plan, but that's okay. Yeah, maybe it was because I didn't expect it, which is why I felt so weird about the medal. But I don't know. I think it's just the way I am, to be honest. And I think that's probably a good thing because it means I'm always wanting more, and I'm not just going to like achieve something and be like, oh, that's good enough. Like I don't need to work harder. I don't need to do anything else. So maybe it's good.
I feel like it's certainly positive. Because it's also not getting your self-worth tied up in the medals and we all want to do our best, and sometimes that's winning a medal. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just doing your best and you feel good. And I feel like if you just need that medal to feel that validation, it can be tricky, but you've always got to work towards it because that's where you want to be. Like if you're going to be putting in the hours, you want to be at least trying to be one of the best in the field. But it's an interesting thing. I certainly think it keeps you very like unique and very genuine as well, because you're not like changed after you win a medal. That was something when you first made your Olympics. I, for some reason, thought that we weren't going to be friends anymore. I did. I was like, I saw Brittany just come around to my house like she normally does. And I was like, whoa. I was like young, by the way. I was like, whoa, she's an Olympian. And she like come around to my house. I was like, oh, she's so cool. She's like hanging out with Holly. And yeah, you didn't change one bit. And I didn't know you well enough then, but I was like, whoa, like that's cool.
I think, yeah, a lot of people do. You even see it in like the social media world. Like people will get the tiniest bit of attention on social media and they just like their normal personalities out the window and they're doing everything for, I don't know. I
feel like that has a time on it though.
Yeah.
And I feel like people are smarter than what maybe sometimes they get credit for. Like when they watch something, I feel like people know whether it's genuine or not, or they'll watch enough to the point where like, yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you do put on or can be super fake,
people figure it out.
Yeah. Or you catch yourself out. Catch yourself out.
Yeah.
Eventually. Now I need to come up with a final question for the podcast. I wanted to keep this consistent across all my podcasts. So the diving deep.
Oh God.
I'd like to put it to motivation. It's kind of why we do everything. Like what do you think is the three things that motivate you the most?
I just do it because I'm like used to it.
Yeah.
I just
routine.
I do like having routine. I mean, I find if I've got time off training, I kind of go a little bit crazy. I think like always having something to sort of look forward to. Like at the moment I'm working towards obviously the clothing brand, and I guess the diving is what helps my socials, and then the socials is what's going to help my
it all
clothing.
feeds into each other.
Yeah. So now that I've sort of established that, I find it a lot more easy to kind of show up to training and be motivated because I know it's helping other things. Whereas when it was kind of just diving by itself, it was a little bit harder, I think. But yeah, I guess routine and just trying to always like be sort of a better version and like keep kind of upgrading, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what else.
Having things outside diving, I feel like it's been really important.
Oh yeah.
When I didn't, all I had was diving, and your value's so tied up in it. And then when you have a bad day, you feel like a bad person. Like when you can't dive properly, and then having things outside like the business and my social stuff, it kind of gives me more well-rounded like self-awareness and value, because you're not just pulling it from an external thing that's diving, something that you can't even control sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm also lucky I have a lot of like really good friends and I have a pretty good social life. And I think since I've been, obviously I'm not out like partying and stuff, but if I'm going out to my dinners with friends and like that kind of things, events
We
like
love a good event.
yeah, yeah, we do. Sam goes to his weekly movie premieres.
Dude, I don't even know when it starts. I swear I go to a premiere every week. I feel very grateful. Please keep
They're
inviting
the
me.
only movies you watch.
Yeah.
Premieres.
Yeah, I have this joke with that unless the actors come out before, I don't watch the movie. But like, even that's been a huge life change. Like I remember I just got back from the Commonwealth Games and traveling around. I did a massive trip after the commies, and then I come back and just started getting invited to these events, and it just basically hasn't stopped. I've gone to like nearly a weekly event ever since, and it's so much fun. How have you found that? Because a lot of these events, I didn't even know they existed until I started getting invited to them.
Yeah, it's definitely like very different to, and the events are all very different from each other as well.
They're so much fun.
Yeah, they're always a lot of fun. And it's, it's just kind of something to, take your mind off training, I guess. And yeah, just meet new people that are also in the social media space. And yeah, it's definitely a good time.
Most of them are like straight after diving too. So an event will probably start like 6 and I finish training at 5. So like run out to my car, just like whack my suit on and I'm gone.
Yeah, you got the chlorine hair.
Yeah. I turn up looking like a bombshell. Yeah. I just don't mind. All my hair's like stuck together from like the chlorine. It's like all over the shop. I have like a nice suit and I'm just like, give it a crack.
I normally rock up to training like an hour early so I can finish early and do my makeup. But yeah.
Yeah, it's normally like I'll train later, but start later and just meet you there. And then you're coming early. I'll be like leaving, going to get ready.
Yeah. But it's good fun.
I love the events. They're so much fun. Well, that was my first episode. Thanks for coming on, Britt.
Thanks for having me. Hope I was insightful in some way.
No, certainly. I even find it interesting, even though I know you very well, to dive deeper on a lot of things and why you do them and what kind of got you to where you are and those that kind of hurdles and changes throughout your career that people may not even realize were huge leaps. Make sure you go and follow Britt on Instagram at Brittany O'Brien, TikTok at Brittany O'Brien.
With 2 N's.
2 N's. Oh, mine's a double F.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Double F?
Sorry.
Sam.
Double R. Double R at the end. Someone yoinked my name.
Same.
So
actually, I'm good friends with someone called Brittany O'Brien. I don't think it's her though.
That's
someone else has it.
That was a very interesting story. Until next time. But yeah, thanks for coming on. That was Diving Deep with Sam Fricker.
With who?
Had to think about that for a sec. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end, and I hope you guys tune in for the next episode.